Can't even believe you showed up for coffee today because I half expected you not to because I'm such a loser. It was one of those conversations. A lot of time wasted just miring myself down in the muck and not just thinking this privately, but sharing it publicly. And that was like a wake-up call to me. Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, welcome to the Ripple Effect Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Harper, and I am back with another solo episode because I have a topic I want to talk about that I think might be important to my audience. We'll be back with some more guests. We got some exciting people coming up to finish up the year, but I thought I would do this episode just you and me. If you happen to be catching this on YouTube and you're seeing this in video, hey, thank you. I appreciate you not turning it off because of my ugly mug. If you're just catching this on audio, maybe count yourself lucky. I don't know, but I really do appreciate when you show up and listen to these episodes. It means the world to me. I have gotten so much feedback this year, so much positive comments and encouragement, and I have guests. It's amazing. I got agencies contacting me and like, hey, we love your interview style. We want to put our author on there, our speaker, our entrepreneur, or whatever. I am me? Hello? Or do you have the right guy? I'm not sure. But forever grateful. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to have these conversations, whether it be in interview format or with you and I. So let's dig into this topic that has been weighing on me. And it actually came up because I had someone pay me a compliment. It was an unexpected compliment, but it was a compliment nonetheless that I had no idea. But several years back, there was someone that I did not realize at the time was really struggling. And they had a really negative outlook on what was happening in their career. And I guess I gave them a little bit of tough love. They were struggling to find their job. They were struggling to determine at the time whether they even wanted to go get a job or if they wanted to start their own business. And they were lacking the confidence. I remember the day. I remember the conversation. It was at a Starbucks. I think I had a caramel macchiato and it tasted burnt. Anyway, that's weird that that's the highlight from that conversation that I thought of when they brought this up, but it's kind of funny how those things anchor, right? So anyway, I'm having this conversation with them and they are, remember that cartoon character Droopy? Droopy just like the world is all over me. Like it's the gray cloud, nothing's going right, everything sucks. Can't even believe you showed up for coffee today because I half expected you not to because I'm such a loser. It was one of those conversations. I wasn't saying that, by the way, just to clarify. It was the other person. And apparently, in the depth of their despair, I said something to the effect that there is truth in advertising. We've all heard that term probably at some point. If you took a marketing class in college, you definitely heard it. There is truth in advertising, or there should be. And I think what drove me to say it was because you verbalize that life sucks and you're not going to get this job, or you couldn't start this business, you couldn't write this book, you couldn't do this, and this, and your life is just in tatters. That is exactly what is happening. And I know a lot of people will be like, this is like that pop psychologist stuff that Steve talks about. Well, the reality is it's true. I spent a lot of time in that world. I spent a lot of time just feeling really sorry for myself, feeling incapable. I wasn't smart enough. I didn't have the degree. I didn't have the work experience. I would, never be a trusted resource or an ally. And you know what, my friends? I wasted a lot of years, a lot of time wasted just miring myself down in the muck and not just thinking this privately, but sharing it publicly. And I distinctly remember one of the first meetings I had after I became an entrepreneur, and I was very self-conscious about being a young entrepreneur. And I mentioned to, at the time, it was our Xerox district manager who was over the agent program. I was an independent business owner, but kind of fell under marketing and sales for Xerox as an independent resource for them. And I told this manager that, nobody is going to believe me here in this town. I just moved to Austin. I had been selling for a couple years. I should have had the confidence, but now nobody knew me. Nobody's going to want to talk to this young kid that doesn't have, any connections, doesn't have any network, and really hasn't proven themselves in this market to be a success. And I remember her distinctly saying, "You're absolutely right." And I'm like, "What?" I just committed to move here. I'm rolling the dice here. Me and my new wife this is we can't fail. And I remember her saying, "But you will, because that's what you're saying. That's what you're putting out into the world. You lack confidence in your ability to do anything. And that shows, number one, but number two, you're not shy about telling anybody who will listen, including me. And I'm here to support you and to help you try to find your path to success." And that was like a wake-up call to me. I would love to say that I learned from that lesson and was able to springboard into just ultimate success. I had success, but then I would fall into old habits, which was self-doubt and verbalizing that self-doubt to anyone who would listen. And it pained me for years. It really was an Achilles heel. And so I guess when this individual and I sat down for our burned caramel macchiatos a few years back, the roles had reversed, right? I was now in a position that my former, district manager had been in when they heard me whining and complaining and got frustrated and were like, "Well, then, either suck it up or get the hell out and let somebody else do it," right? She didn't exactly say that. Actually, she might have exactly said that. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't have blamed her if she did. Let's just put it that way. But I was in that same role right now for this person. And I was basically saying, everything you are saying, you're putting out there into the world, and for people like myself to believe it. There's truth in advertising. And I'm not saying that you have to go out there and be false about what you do. There are coaches, there are consultants. You've got to fake it till you make it. I also think that's bullshit too, right? I think at the end of the day, there are going to be things that you're not going to be super comfortable with, but you don't have to tell everybody about. I don't know if the strategy is going to work, but I'm not going to tell my team I don't know that the strategy is not going to work. I'm just going to try the strategy. And if we have to tweak it or adjust it, or we have to try something completely different, at least we know what didn't work. I think that we as individuals, especially if we come from an environment where we grew up and we didn't have a lot of support, or we didn't have encouragement to build our own fortitude, our own self-reliance, and our own self-confidence, well, what happens is that ends up being our Achilles heel. And unfortunately, because, you don't believe it, you often say it. And when you say it, people will believe it. So it is then true. And I guess the thing that really strikes me on this is I have lived it. I've seen it. I've been a victim of it. And so to hear this all these years later now, coming back full circle, this person said, "You gave me permission to start believing in myself because you basically slapped me into understanding I had to be my own champion before anybody else could." And I was just blown away to know that ripple that I created on that day over that burnt caramel macchiato had truly gone out and impacted them in so many different ways. They found the career that they were looking for, which makes me happy. They ended up starting their own business and are successful at it. And they are now in a position of leadership within that business where they are guiding and directing the careers and the futures of the people that have come to work for their company. And they mentioned that every single time that someone even alludes to a little bit of lack of confidence or self-doubt, that topic, that phrase that I said, that there's truth in advertising. If that's what you're selling, my friend, that's what everybody's going to buy and believe. And I can't honestly say that I take 100% credit for that. I just learned from it. And I thought it was important to share because I think it's also really important. it's funny because I walked away from that conversation high as a kite. I'm like so excited that some of that stuck and it worked. And not that it wouldn't, and not that I would have like ever doubted that it could, but the reality was to see this person in this role, in this job, at this point, in this time of their life, coming back full circle to say thank you for what I did for them, what I said to them, how I basically kind of slapped them into recognizing that, yeah, there's some truth there. If I keep telling people I'm not worthy, I won't be worthy. It really made a huge difference to me. It was a great ripple moment. 2 days after that conversation, I was in a situation where I had just spoken at an event and someone was really saying that, look, you know, what you're talking about here makes a lot of sense. I love what you're saying, but we will never change as a culture. I can never see this ever sticking. And I was like kind of taken aback because that's part of the reason I was brought in. They have leadership that is bringing a cultural shift. And they were in the exact same boat as this individual I just mentioned, right? They didn't believe that anything could change. So I looked at her and I said, you're absolutely 100% right. When you put it out there like that, you're a lead, right? Team lead. Oh yeah, you know, this is what the new boss says we need to do, but you know, this is never going to stick. It's never going to happen. You are basically advertising that to your team, and therefore there's no reason for them to not believe you, right? You're the leader for them. And, you know, this is the flavor of the month. This is, you know, this too shall pass, that kind of thing, right? And I said, the problem is with this starts with you and your acceptance to the possibility of something new. And I said, I don't want to argue with you necessarily. I just want to give you a different perspective. That you already coming through this, telling me how great my presentation was, how much you took from it, but that it'll never stick. And this overarching reason that they brought me in will never stick is likely to ensure that it doesn't. And as a leader, if you're really committed to making a difference here, to creating a legacy, it has to start in between the 2 ears. It has to start with your attitude, your approach, and you have to stop false advertising, or at least advertising the wrong thing, the wrong direction, it will not work, it can't work, and start saying, you know, it can work. It can work, and it needs to start with me. I think they were taken aback by that. And it was not lost on me that I just had this conversation 2 days earlier. And so I said, why don't we connect after this event and let's talk further. And so I shared that story with this person. And I said, you know, the reality is nothing changes until we decide to change it. And when we go about, whether it's our lack of self-confidence in our ability, it's the lack of confidence we might have in leadership, it's lack of confidence we have in the corporate direction. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't know that it won't work until you're given evidence to prove that it will. Just because you've had experience in the background that has said, hey, every other direction change we've made as an organization has not stuck. I asked this person, I said, and how many times did you raise your hand or speak out or share in confidence with everybody? Yeah, this is just another thing that, you know, they're trying that will not work. And she said, you know, I got to be honest, a lot. And I said, that could be part of the problem. If you're one of 9 leaders within this organization that people look up to and are exposed to their attitudes, their philosophies, their approach, their leadership style on a daily basis, and you've been given that responsibility to carry that football down the field and have that team on your back, of course you're going to fail every single time when you don't buy into it. And I'm not saying that you got to buy 100%, you know, you may not necessarily know, but you have to give the benefit of the doubt. This person has been put in charge, overarching leadership role, you know, overseeing everybody. Because the culture here sucks and it needs to change. Something needs to change. And it would be better to be on the bus of change and moving that direction and not get caught up in what I know is already been mandated. That people that aren't buying into it won't be in roles of leadership and probably won't be with the organization long term. I don't know that anybody actually had expressed that to her at that point, and maybe I was overstepping a little bit, but I could tell that it made a difference. I could tell that through the conversation that they were recognizing, yeah, I can't just start with, no, this won't work. My attitude is a reflection of my team, and my team takes ultimately my direction. So if I am the one that says it doesn't work, then they're not going to buy into it, which means they're not going to do what they're asked to do, or they're not going to deliver the kind of performance or output expectation that the new regime is looking for, and that'll be a problem. And it will start with me, and I'll be personally responsible for the demise of those individual careers. And it was like a wake-up call. She said, you're right. And I said, it's all about what I said during my presentation, legacy. Do you want to leave this job better than you found it? Do you want to leave these people better than you found it? Do you want people talking about how you embrace change and stepped up or up-leveled your game as a leader? Or do you want to be the one that's like, well, I work for Gladys, and Gladys never buys into this crap, and maybe they do believe it, but they can't go against you because you're their leader, or they might have been open to it, but you come in and put the kibosh on it. There is truth in advertising. And when I said that and I shared that story, I felt like I really broke through. I really made a huge impact there. And I guess the reason I wanted to bring this as a full circle moment for me personally, but express it in a way that you guys can hear it, is that there are things that we are doing and saying on a daily basis that probably undermine us, that probably put it out there in the world. If you start a company but you don't think it'll be successful, then you are going to be right. If you start a relationship but you don't think it's going to go anywhere, you will be right. If you tell someone you are not smart enough, or you got there by luck, happen, circumstance, and you're just waiting for people to wake up and realize it, you will be right. The opposite is true as well. When you show up with confidence, when you show up with authenticity, there's a way to say you don't know and don't have the experience without calling yourself a loser, or putting yourself down, or creating doubt in the minds of other people. And you do that by saying, hey, this is new. I'm excited to learn, and I'm probably going to lean on you guys quite a bit to help me get up to speed. Rather than, oh my God, I'm never going to learn this. I'm going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to fail. We're going to fail as a team. There is a different approach and attitude that you can take. And it's just an adjustment of words, and it's an adjustment of attitude. And then that becomes your truth in advertising. I don't know. I won't know until I do. And when I do, I'll be successful. And I think that in every area of our life, going for that next job that you think might be, you might think is impossible for you to get, may not be necessarily so. And those that are thinking about starting a business, I don't know if I could do this with limited capital. I don't know if I have the energy, the enthusiasm to do it. You don't know till you try. But one thing you will know is when you doubt it and you put it out there in the world, those doubts usually are self-fulfilling prophecies. So I have belabored this point so long that even I am bored with myself. But I hope that, this stimulates a thought process in your mind. I hope that it might, kick off a conversation. If not with me, with someone within your family, your network, maybe, someone that works for you that is struggling. There's truth in advertising. What you put out there will absolutely, most likely, kind of conundrum there, but counterintuitive. But at the end of the day, it's more likely to come true than not. And you will absolutely feel like a loser then. So there you go. Anyway, I will be back very soon. I've got a great guest coming up on the Ripple Effect podcast. I've got several that are coming up over the next couple of weeks and months. And I just want to thank you for being a part of this season. Season 9. I cannot believe I've been doing this podcast this long and that we've got such a loyal fan base. So thank you so much. If you know somebody who would benefit from this podcast and the amazing guests I bring on, please share this podcast. So you just check this out. Take this guy to the gym, put him in your ears, and let him talk. He's not the most polished individual, I'll tell you that right now, but he his heart's in the right place. Wait, that's some of the negative self-talk I was just talking about. I need to stop that. Stop that, man. Stop that. Let me grab a little sip of my little coffee here. Johnny Cash. Cash is king, bro. Anyway, share it with them. Do me a favor. This podcast has got traction and is obviously getting the attention of several people out there that are wanting to bring us guests, but I really want to put it in the hearts and minds of a lot more people out there. I'd like to ripple this out. And so if you do me a favor and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, I would greatly appreciate it. They seem to be the only platform that actually does reviews, but those reviews do make a difference. They help us get into the algorithm. They help us, end up on people's feeds in a way that says, hey, this is okay. This is a great podcast. You should check it out. And that's not a bad thing either. So I would greatly appreciate that. You guys, I will be back very soon with another episode, but I just want to thank you again for being here. And as always, ripple on.